We did it, boys. We finally made it to the Star Wars spin-offs. And we'll be starting off with the one that I haven't watched in a very long time, Rogue One. As you know, this is Why It's Great, which is a series where we shed some positive light on some movies that either get too much hate or just don't get enough credit. And naturally, Solo would probably have been a better option since it's incredibly underrated and overhated. However, it's been a while since I watched Rogue One and I just simply wanted to watch it. Also, there are some people out there who just don't like it, so there you go. Why It's Great. Anyways, as you may know, in this series we highlight the standout moments of a movie and give them either a bronze, silver, or gold medal. And I try to leave all my criticisms of the movies until the very end. But enough rambling, let's just get into the video. This is why Rogue One is great. Obviously, the first thing this movie does right is have Mikkelsen in it. As a Danish man, I can proudly say that he is the pride and soul of our nation. Him and his beautiful Danish accent can make any role unique. And even though he doesn't have too much to work with in the script, he still manages to captivate me. This is more of a win for Mikkelsen than the movie, but the casting director did choose to hire him, so good on them.
Hey, funny meme.
Rewatching this movie made me realize just how many iconic memes came from it. Pure gold. Director Krennic is a good fucking antagonist. The Star Wars movies don't always have the best villains. They're memorable for their designs, sure, but too many of them just don't feel like actual people with realistic motivations and character traits. And perhaps that's just not what they had to be in those movies, and a lot of people would say that Krennic isn't intimidating compared to someone like Darth Maul or Count Dooku because of his lack of fighting prowess. But that's actually what makes him more frightening to me. He's a man who wants nothing else but to be rewarded and praised for his achievements. He wants to be respected. He cares more about his own image within the Empire than the actual goals that the Empire wants to achieve. This obsession with his reputation is both his strength and his greatest weakness. Thing is, Krennic is a smart guy. He's cool under pressure and he's pretty fucking fearless. And thus, his drive to prove himself isn't held back by fear. His motivation to succeed is stronger than his fear of dying, and because of this, when we see how Tarkin takes the credit for the Death Star, Krennic goes all out to complete his new assignment, because he isn't about to not be respected for the work he does. However, this obsession is also his downfall. Too many times does he hurt his own chances of being recognized by pushing too hard on the higher-ups who couldn't give two fucks about him. Most notably is when Vader manhandles him and spits bars about not choking on your aspirations. As the young folks say today, that shit fire.
Achten Sie darauf, nicht an Ihrem Ehrgeiz zu ersticken. Director.
This is all his own fault. If he had just reported to Vader without having to make sure that his importance in creating the Death Star was known by everyone, he'd perhaps still not have the recognition, but at least he'd have Vader's respect. Instead, he has neither one of them. Krennic dies alone, without the recognition he dreamt of and without the personal satisfaction he could have had if he had just appreciated his own accomplishments, instead of seeking validation from others. It's honestly a quite sad story, and it's brought to life perfectly by Ben Mendelsohn. In my last video on Captain Marvel, I mentioned how much I love Ben Mendelsohn, and this is no different. He just makes me happy. Krennic in this movie deserves a silver medal. I fucking love him.
Congratulations, you are being rescued. Please do not resist.
K2SO is my favorite droid in the Star Wars franchise, behind only C-3PO. The comedic value this bot gives us is fucking incredible. But beyond just humor that actually delivers, K2SO is a character with interesting traits and development that leaves us heartbroken at the end when he dies. K2SO is a standout character. One thing I love about this movie is how they use that classic rebel music from A New Hope, because it just fills me with, well, hope. I know all Star Wars movies use the same motifs, but it just makes me feel nostalgic, and it was the right choice. Because it's not like the original score for this film doesn't land either, because it certainly does. It's a good score and it's a nice blend. Any scene where the Force monk guy goes batshit crazy, I like. What can I say? I'm a man with simple taste. Blind man performs space kung fu and fucks up some stormtroopers. Holy shit, I can't control my inner child. Alright, I know this is a Star Wars movie and this point can be said about basically all of them, but the visuals really are stunning. I remember how some of these scenes blew me away when I first watched the movie in the cinema. Something is still a positive even though it's a positive in other things too. That's a good life lesson for you. If you're good at something and other people are too, that doesn't make you less good at it. and it doesn't make it less important that you're good at it. So yes, Star Wars and incredible visual effects just go hand in hand. We all know that. My man did not deserve to go out like this. I would have loved to see more of Galen Erso, explore his character a little more. But based on what we got, I'm pleased with his character. Also, this whole sequence was just fun. It's a bit hard to see what's going on all the time, but yeah, it's a decent action set piece. It does the job. Krennic getting a lesson in badassery from Darth Vader himself is just fucking satisfying. I've said how I like Krennic as a character, but damn, it feels good to see him get brought to his knees. I said what I said. Alright, one thing that pleasantly surprised me on this rewatch was Cassian Andor. Previously, I never cared one bit about Cassian. I thought he was boring. I thought he was just there to push the story forward, but my views on him have changed for the better. The first scene of him shows that he will do practically whatever it takes for the rebellion, even kill someone who doesn't really deserve to die. From the beginning, this shows us that he sits in a moral gray area, which is something he fights with for the majority of the movie. Like he says, he's been in this fight since he was 60 years old, and he won't let anything stop him from achieving the rebellion's goals, except for this one girl whom he begins to care for. In the movie, he struggles between obediently listening to orders and thinking for himself, and his development is actually really satisfying to watch. I still don't believe he's the most exciting character, but this rewatch has given me a new appreciation for Cassian, and I'm a bit more excited about his show now. Also, my girlfriend loves Diego Luna, so now we finally have something in common. Alright, now we've arrived at the absolute best part of this movie. The entire third act is amazing. Easily one of the best climaxes to any Star Wars movie. And Star Wars movies have good endings a lot of the time. The Battle of Scarif, both the space battle and the ground attack, is just so engaging. And of course, all the characters fucking dying is a nice touch. They didn't have to do that. They could have just said they retired after this, but no. They fucking die. And I love it. K2SO's death hit me the hardest, and I'm sure it hit everyone else hard too. He finally accepts Jin as a friend, and then he goes out heroically, which contrasts his selfish nature for most of the movie. It's good character development, and this death is a silver moment. The Star Destroyer ramming scene is also a standout moment. The creativity, the music, the importance it has to the rebellion, it's just satisfying. And then of course we have Jin and Cassian's death, which is a gold moment. I've said in a video before that this is my favorite scene in the movie, and it's true. First of all, I love that they don't kiss. This was the perfect opportunity for a kissing scene, and they said fuck you. People can just embrace in their final moments. They're just happy to be there with each other, having completed their mission. Both of them can be proud of their lives. Jin found her purpose, and Cassian made all the lives he took count towards something much bigger. It's a fantastic moment, and it deserves a gold medal. And finally, we have the hallway scene, which is a silver moment. I don't even need to say anything about this scene. You know it. I know it. Your mom knows it. This moment gave an orgasm to millions of geeks around the world at the same time. They didn't even have to be watching the scene. They just felt that shit, like the Force. This is how you end a movie. Holy shit. And there we have it. Rogue One is a good movie, and one that I definitely need to be rewatching more often. It's more of an intimate movie that provides a lot of stakes since we don't really know the outcome of all these characters, and the payoff at the end is phenomenal. Naturally, however, the movie isn't perfect, so let's quickly talk about some negatives. Despite a lot of the characters being really fun and interesting, like Krennic, K2SO, and Cassian, a lot of the other characters are just kinda forgettable. Jyn Erso does the job as the protagonist, but I just don't feel emotionally attached to her until the very end. Maybe that's the point of her story, but I just wish we'd explored her psychology a bit more. Some of the other members of Rogue One aren't all that interesting either, and I didn't really care when they died. However, there are enough enjoyable characters for me to not really care that some are bland. Despite the visual effects being praiseworthy in a lot of instances, the revival of dead actors is not executed very well. We all know this looks like shit. We've all accepted it, they've accepted it, so let's just move on. My biggest criticism of the movie is definitely the slow first act. The third act is so entertaining and so intense that I completely forgot about the first two acts. They're just not very interesting, but they do have their moments like we've talked about, and at least least the movie ends on a very high note, so I will always excuse these flaws when watching the movie. Overall, Rogue One is a great movie that tackles some interesting ideas and concepts. It was definitely a solid start to the Star Wars spin-offs, but guess what? It's not even my favorite spin-off, but we'll get to that another day. Rogue One is a satisfying movie that I think most fans can agree is pretty fucking decent, especially that last part. I will for sure be revisiting Rogue One soon enough. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to tell me down in the comments what movie you would like me to cover next, preferably a very underrated one. But other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe and peace out.